Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Baddie Overwatch League Season 5, Week 2 of games. The pregame show is now. I'm Albinojoe, and with me, two co-hosts. We have Hook Resets and AGS Zero. How you guys doing?
Really well. We are the best team in the league, and you can't ask for much more than that after the first week.
Doing good, doing good.
Yeah, coming straight from the casting couch here, this pregame show. All three of us on the same team. Well,
No
hey.
bias. No bias.
We have some pretty good topics in store for this show here. UTech can't make it with us due to unforeseen circumstances, so we got the three of us here to talk about the first point: baddie meta versus the real quote-unquote meta of Overwatch. AJ Zero, you want to provide some opening comments about this?
Yeah, I thought it was a really interesting first week as a spectator, as I believe we're going to be pulling these topics up on stream in just a moment, guys, so bear with us. We had some just popping up immediately before the stream came live. But I'm really excited for this current quote-unquote real meta because it's a really variable meta. You see a lot of rock, paper, scissors being played with team compositions, and there just seems to be a bit more strategic diversity at the top level of Overwatch than there was during the last season of the BOL. So the fact that every team can kind of run whatever they want, instead of it being, oh, this team is garbage and they can't run anything real, they can run whatever suits their players' strengths, and we don't have to just dismiss it as a bad team like we did for a lot of the teams in the last season of the BOL. So I'm really excited because we saw some teams running really different things last week. You know, we had our team running a lot of dive. We had some other teams running kind of deathball with the Zarya Rein.
Yeah, I think there's actually just plenty of a lot of teams are liking this deathball. I think Zarya Rein being so much almost easier. It definitely helps a lot of the tank play and makes it a lot more coordinated for them. So I'm definitely excited to see more of that.
Yeah, and going off the diversity thing, highly map dependent this meta is. It's just always very, very dependent on where you are. If you have that high ceiling, you're gonna have Pharah players in the area. So people, players like Heron, who kind of play that cookie cutter, Pharah. If he's not on Pharah, you can tell he's not really necessarily all that comfortable. But when he's on Pharah, as we saw 3Dans 1 Cup pop off last week on it, he can get pretty scary. I don't know how that's going to affect him and the team with low ceiling maps. Personally, I don't know.
Yeah, the Pharah pick's a really interesting one because that's kind of been the defining BOL meta pick for a long time. We've had a lot of teams that have just been Pharah teams, whether it's Pharah and Dive or it's Pharah and Poke. There's always been these teams that are Pharah and something because very few teams have had hit scan good enough to stop Pharahs from going up into the air. And in top level Overwatch, this is the first season where there's the biggest counter there's really ever been, which is the Widowmaker has been so popular. But yet again, in the BOL, there aren't a whole lot of Widow players. We saw more Widowmaker last week than we did for really all of last season, but I still don't know how many of these players I think of as Widowmaker players. So I think it's still actually really safe to be a Pharah player, and that's to me the biggest difference between the BOL meta and the real meta is we're not seeing a lot of opposing teams just bust out a Widowmaker the second they see a Pharah. And I'm really curious as we head into like weeks 2, 3, if we start seeing some of these players default to Widowmaker until they know there's not a Pharah on the enemy team. We know there's guys like TeeVee, who we're going to be bringing in later, who everyone's expecting the Widowmaker. He did play a little bit of it last week. Guys like No Wonder can play it at a pretty high level. But after that, I'm really curious to see who these other Widowmakers are going to be and if they're going to be willing to take that mantle as the Pharah counter player.
Oh yeah, and I mean, I believe that there's more than just those two. Yeah, those are two of the star hit scan players that you'll find on any team in the BOL. But 30 can play a mean Widowmaker, as well as I believe it's Senpai who plays that Widow as well.
Both of these players are actually really strong. I think 30 showed up decently on Route 66 specifically against TeeVee. he actually shut him down pretty hard early on, killing him on the first 2 points, at least on defense. We didn't get to see much of the Widow versus Widow. They swapped off pretty quick, but yeah, I'm curious if TeeVee's Widow is well, it does seem a little bit overrated. He did have the one thing we've seen from him last season was on that map where he kind of exploited the new map that just came out. What was it called? Freaking
Blizzard World.
Blizzard World. What a lovely map. And just last week, I don't think he had that big of a showing. His huge showing was really the Doomfist. So we've got to see if he's not on the Doomfist, if he can pop off like he did last season.
Yeah, and you know we could talk more to TeeVee about his individual team and his individual team's kind of meta strategy or how they operate in regards to the most effective strategy in every map here. But out of all these teams in the BOL, who would you say Bench is probably the most versatile team?
I think so. Even though they did lose last week, I think that between 30 and Chromatic, they can definitely switch to a lot of different stuff. Between the dive, between Chromatic Zarya, and 30 can play pretty much a lot of DPS, really, besides maybe, I haven't seen him play Genji or anything, but between McCree, Tracer, Widow, Soldier, he does it all. And it gives them a lot of diversity.
Yeah. When you get those big four in, that's pretty big, but other teams kind of less likely to change up their roles. Looking at everyone, it doesn't look like there's too many players that are just stuck onto one character. Sword and Mace maybe be playing, he more than likely will be playing Ana and Lucio most of his games, as far as I remember. But everyone else has more than just one or two comfort picks for the most part. Does anyone stick out that doesn't have a diverse champ pool?
Redance. Definitely Heron's team, where we've seen Heron excel at Pharah. He swapped to Hanzo a little bit, but he definitely was best at Pharah. And then Dirty Dan, the other DPS, who basically stuck on McCree every single time. He was on Soldier, but the McCree was just like too good against their team. And then Josh is Zarya. We'll see if they actually do swap off of Ryan Zarya this maps tonight. Curious to see. We've talked about 3Dan so much, but I definitely think this is the most comfort team in the BOL.
Yeah, you can definitely tell this is the team that we're preparing ourselves for because we play them tonight, as you can see. But I agree with Cal. This was a team that seems like a lot of comfort picks to me, and there are a lot of players I don't expect to have a lot of depth to their pool. Cruz has never been able to excel on a lot of different picks. Zed has always kind of struggled with some of the diversity. It looks like the DPS will probably be a similar case as well. So I'm wondering if we're going to see this team kind of get solved as we go into further weeks, or if they're going to prove us wrong and start busting out, a bunch of other stuff and dig us.
One other team we haven't really talked about, though, I really want to say the Dabs, who last season were probably the most diverse team, really didn't shine. They tried a lot of things the first week, and nothing really worked out for them. So I'm curious to see if they're just going to try to have to stick to something more comfortable.
Yeah, 3Dan's definitely had the upper edge on them. Those were two teams that were, just kind of, I don't know. I have to rewatch that match maybe. Anywho, any other closing remarks regarding our meta compared to, the pros?
I think we hit as much as we could with that amount of time.
Excellent. Well, hey, moving on to this premiere match that we may or may not be playing in.
No bias.
Casting Couch versus 3Dan's 1 Cup. We have a Pharah to deal with without a real Pharah counter, right?
Hey, here we go.
Right,
Easy peasy.
guys?
A Diva's a counter. That's all I'm saying.
Diva's a giant, massive AoE self-destruct to kill something in the sky. That's kind of a counter, right?
Yeah, that's a super secret casting couch plan.exe. I'm super excited for this match, obviously, as a player, but I'm also really excited kind of from a third-person perspective. These were two of the teams that a lot of people didn't expect to do super well, Obviously, Casting Couch was kind of the favorite pick for the last place team after the draft, and I saw a lot of 3 Dans 1 Cup was, and I saw a lot of people predicting the Casting Couch was going to struggle a lot as well, and I think that's just because in this league people have, especially after last season, really overrated the teams that have strong DPS. Looks like two of the teams with maybe weaker DPS positions than some of the other teams. Obviously, our team started Splinter, a second DPS slot, and Cal is coming off kind of a struggle in a flex season, so I don't think people realize just how good he could be. And then 3 Dans 1 Cup, of course, yes, probably the weakest position on their team as well. And so I think a lot of people just assumed these two teams would be bad because they didn't have great DPS players. Like, there was no Senpai Free Fee combination. There was no 30 Chromatic combination. But as we saw last week, Overwatch is a really difficult team game where you need to have good players at every position. And both of these teams look like they're going to have much better play at the other two positions to kind of carry the DPS. So I'm really excited to hopefully keep proving everyone wrong on those predictions.
Yeah, just to say about the tanks and supports, they really do make a DPS's job so much easier. If you have just, as a Genji player, if you have a Winston just calling out and being, most importantly, the first one to go in, it just makes Genji's job to avoid everyone's line of sight and get those supports a lot easier.
Yeah, for sure. And some other stuff to talk about in regards to the 3Dans 1 Cup team. Danko on that tank, not necessarily playing the DPS, as you were saying before, Swift. The strong DPS have biased overvaluation. Overvaluation, is that a word? I don't know. But it's an inflated value for your DPS. So the 30s, the Chromatics, the Free Fee and Senpais of this league are going to be going for a lot more than other positions. But Danko, who I think everyone was expecting to play DPS, as far as I kind of understood during the draft.
I was expecting him to play tanks. I was really happy to see that that's what he was sticking with in week 1.
Yeah, and he did work on it. I mean, he plays Zarya like a DPS. Like, he does so much damage. I wouldn't be surprised if he's golden out every single game like he was playing.
Just how fast he gets that ulti is really what's important.
Yeah, King Midas over there. But as for Casting Couch, the struggle with that, the DPS, Splinter, and hook resets. The two of them is the DPS slots. Cal, able to show up on hook resets very consistently, very well. But that second, DPS slot, kind of, we have two people fighting for it for the most part. But the rest of the members on the team, just show up. And I think that's the important part, is that you just got to have a really well-rounded out team in order to be successful in this league. And some teams have the big skill gap or price gap. All blab, no dab is one of them. I think bench is kind of notably another. I think we'll see those teams struggle more than the premier matchup we're seeing tonight overall.
Yeah, and we'll have to see really who can step up, because that's the most important part. Tanks making plays is really undervalued, and I think that, for instance, Cruise Master last week, who was very undervalued, had so many good Reinhardt plays, that he really made up for his team. He won't be playing tonight, though.
Thank goodness.
Sad.
I think it's sad.
Well, do you guys want to move on to the last part?
Let's bring the man, the myth, the legend in. Where you at?
We're going to pull in TeeVee, and well, hopefully he's ready because he was just moved into our channel. Hello, TeeVee.
Oh dear.
Have not
Hello.
been ready.
I didn't realize I was mute. I'm moving there.
It's all good. I know you don't use TeamSpeak as your team's primary chat. So everyone, straight from Doomfist, we brought TeeVee in. I guess straight to the point. TeeVee, you were like something of a boogeyman in this league after your one emergency sub game last season where you popped off on Widowmaker, especially on Blizzard World. And the fact that you only got to play one match last season seemed to have given people an even stronger image of you. How did you feel stepping into this league as an actual full-time player now and having such a reputation to uphold?
I don't know. I guess with how much I guess you guys were kind of hyping it up was more than I think what it should be. Not that good, I guess, but I wanted to do the BOL last season, but I just had too much other shit going on. But yeah, I like that I've got a couple people that I knew from just the LAN that we went to on my team, so that can help with that too, with some of the I guess synergy, if you want to say that.
How different is it for you to be playing in the BOO rather than the LANs?
It's definitely more competitive than the LANs because people there weren't they didn't really try that much besides for your guys' team there, but it was definitely it's definitely a difference there between them.
Yeah, you're probably playing with a less skilled team than you take to the lands, so or maybe it's kind of close. I guess, what do you think is a better team? Do you think Mad Cow Disease would beat Daddy's Dabs if they were able to have two of you?
I don't know. It kind of depends on the matchups and everything. Like with Jeremy and Nate being on the same team, they're a pretty good power duo there. So it kind of all depends on how everyone plays, I guess, really.
But if you had to like do a percentage, like who would win more games? You know, if you had 100 game
Shit.
simulation, who would have the edge? Or is it really that big of a coin flip?
I'd say it's still pretty 50-50.
Gotcha. Well, so I guess moving on.
So I've played plenty of games with multiple people on their team too. So just kind of just matchmaking and everything in Overwatch, and I'd say we're pretty even, honestly.
Jeez, playing it safe. No shots fired at either team from you. Come on.
I mean, they're my buddies, bro.
They would not be as kind to you if they were in here. Just remember that.
Yeah, it happens.
So, team dynamic question. Overall, how does your team tick? I mean, you went on that Doomfist, you popped off. It almost looked like you were just 1v6ing most of the time. You know, there's no call-outs or anything like that. But as a
not
unit,
much for not much for callouts, I guess. Definitely had Peel, which was good. Where like Kazuki when she was playing Mercy or any other sports, where I'd get like an armor pack when she was playing Brig. That helped a lot. Where it's like I can kind of rely on an instant heal from the armor pack, and then the Mercy after I went in like an idiot, died. They forgot about me. She flew in res, so then I'm basically behind everyone at that point, and then just kind of dealing damage. Otherwise, also part of the team dynamic, everyone definitely needs earplugs with Drew.
Ah!
It's
Awesome!
quite loud sometimes.
That's a polite way of putting it. We put you guys on land from far sides of the room, and anyone at our table can usually tell how the match is going without looking at any of us.
Drew could be in the other room and you'd still hear him. Yeah, he's loud boy Drew. But yeah, Gary was doing pretty good on Zen too, and he was playing that for a little bit. That was pretty good there. But yeah.
Alright, I guess to wrap things up, I wanted to ask you one more TeeVee question before we head on to bad plays here. So, we obviously are all afraid of your Widowmaker. We're now pretty all afraid of your Doomfist. Are you really one of those jack-of-all-trade DPS players that we should be ready to see everything out of, or do you just have like maybe one or two more picks up your sleeve?
I guess I'm kind of mediocre on most DPS, but there's definitely those kind of niche few. I'd like to say there's probably a couple more.
Alright, well, I'm looking forward to seeing it. I love seeing new players in this league, especially guys I've seen play on LAN before. Guys who have shoved their fist up my ass on LAN before. I'm hoping to get you
In
back.
person.
But that's going to do it, guys. So that is our first baddie pre-show interview. We're going to try to do one of these every week for the rest of the season, and we'll see how it goes. But since the stream is a little far behind, we want to get things caught up before game one. We're going to take a pause here in a sec. For those of you that are new to the league, we're about to run our montage of all of the plays of the week from week one, followed by our hand-selected bad plays of the week from week 1. So make sure you stay tuned. Those are usually a blast. And we'll
Can't
be
wait
right
for
back.
the bad plays. Those are always pretty good.